No one even asked me if I took the milk money that time.
Did you know that nearly 40% of beloved child actors have tragically passed away before reaching adulthood? From Heather O'Rourke's untimely passing to Carl Switzer's fatal confrontation, here are 30 child actors you didn't know passed away. 1. Heather O'Rourke. The blonde girl in the movie Poltergeist was Heather O'Rourke. She was the one who said the famous line, "They're here." People loved her right away. She was only 6 when she got the role. Steven Spielberg chose her because she looked sweet, but could act really well. She played the same girl, Carol Ann, in all 3 Poltergeist movies. Everyone thought she would be a big star one day, but something bad was happening inside her. In her last year, Heather started getting bad stomach pain. Her face looked different because of strong medicine. The doctors thought she had a stomach problem, so they gave her steroids, but they were wrong. She had a rare sickness in her intestines, and no one knew. One day in January, she passed out at home. She went to the hospital. Doctors found a blockage in her intestines. They tried surgery, but it didn't work. Heather's heart stopped. She died when she was only 12. 2. Judith Barsi. A very good young actress was Judith Barsi. By the time she was 10, she had been in lots of commercials and movies. She was the voice of Ducky in The Land Before Time. Everyone remembers her saying, "Yep, yep, yep." She also gave her voice to Anne-Marie in All Dogs Go to Heaven. Her voice made people smile, but her real life was not happy. At home, Judith was scared. Her father was angry and hurtful. He didn't let her or her mom enjoy the money Judith made. Her mom wanted to leave and take Judith away, but it was too late. One summer night in 1988, Judith went to bed and never woke up. Her father shot her, then shot her mother. After that, he set their house on fire and took his own life. 3. Anissa Jones, a big TV star in the late 1960s, was Anissa Jones. She played Buffy in a show called Family Affair. The show was about orphans living with their rich uncle. Anissa had big eyes, a sweet voice, and a line everyone loved. "Oh, Mr. French." She started acting when she was just 6 years old. The show ran for 5 years. After it ended, Anissa's career ended too. People only saw her as Little Buffy. No one gave her new roles. Her parents started fighting over who should take care of her. She felt lost and alone. There was no plan for her future. By the time she was a teenager, she started using substances. Things got worse fast. One night, she went to a party in California. She never came home. The next morning, she was found dead. The doctors said she had taken a lot of different substances. It was one of the worst cases the county had ever seen. 4. Matthew Garber. Michael Banks in Mary Poppins was played by Matthew Garber. You might remember him from the song "Let's Go Fly a Kite." He had a special way of smiling that made people believe in magic. He only acted in 3 Disney movies, but people still loved him. After his last movie, Matthew stopped acting. He went back to school and lived a quiet life in England. He didn't want to be famous. He just wanted to be a regular kid. In 1976, he went on a trip to India. While there, he got very sick. No one knew how serious it was. When he got back home, the sickness had spread. He was taken to the hospital, but it was too late. He died at only 21 years old from a bad infection. Disney didn't say much about it. Fans didn't know he had died until years later. One of his co-stars finally spoke up. She said Matthew was full of fun and always up for an adventure. It makes you wonder how many child stars are gone, and no one ever heard the full story. 5. Bridget Anderson. A smile that people remembered belonged to Bridget and Anderson. When she was 6, she starred in a movie called Savannah Smiles. Everyone loved her. She had a sweet face, a clear voice, and eyes that looked both happy and sad. People thought she would become a big star. She was in commercials, TV shows, and other movies. Everyone cheered for her, but behind all the lights and smiles, things were not okay. As she got older, her fame started to fade. She stopped getting roles. The phone stopped ringing. Hollywood moved on without her. She didn't have a plan for what to do next. She felt lost. The fame that once made her happy became something heavy and sad. Even though millions had once loved her, she felt alone. When she was just 21, Bridget died from using opioid and alcohol. There were no big stories about it, no crowds, no news. She was buried quietly. Many people didn't even know she had died. How could someone so bright just vanish? 6. Ashley Aston Moore. A laugh that made people smile came from Ashley Aston Moore. She played young Chrissy in a movie called Now and Then. Her character was funny, sweet, and full of life. Even with famous actors around her, Ashley stood out. People thought she had a big future in acting, but after the movie, she didn't get as many calls. She tried to stay in acting, doing small TV shows, but it wasn't the same. Childhood fame doesn't last forever. Slowly, she stopped being in the spotlight, and things got hard. Ashley struggled with substance addiction. She didn't talk about it much. She was alone. In 2007, when she was only 26, she died from taking too much opioid by accident. 7. Shannon Tavares. Only 11 years old, standing on the big Broadway stage, that was Shannon Tavares. She played young Nala in The Lion King. Her voice was strong and her smile lit up the stage. She grew up in Queens, New York, and trained hard to be in the show. She had real talent and a big heart. But then she started feeling pain. Her legs hurt. She was tired all the time. Her family took her to the doctor. The news was bad. She had a fast and dangerous cancer called leukemia. Her life quickly changed from performing on stage to staying in hospitals. Still, Shannon didn't give up. She stayed strong. Doctors said she needed a bone marrow transplant to live. But it was hard to find a match because Shannon was part African American and part Dominican. Many people with her background don't have matches on the donor list. So a big campaign started. Celebrities spoke out and thousands joined the donor list. Shannon got a transplant using blood from a baby's umbilical cord, but her body was too weak. She passed away in 2010. 8. Skye McCole Bartusiak. Just a little girl when she acted in the movie The Patriot. That was Skye McCole Bartusiak. She played the youngest daughter of a soldier. In one sad scene, she cried and begged her dad not to go. She was only 7, but her acting made people cry. She had a quiet, deep talent that showed in her eyes. Skye kept acting as she grew up. She worked in more movies and TV shows, but she stayed close to her family and didn't look for fame. People saw a happy young actress, but inside, Skye was struggling. She had epilepsy. She often felt sick. She had to take many strong medicines to deal with it. One day in 2014, Skye was found in her bedroom. She had passed away. She was only 21 years old. The doctors said it was an accident. She took a mix of pills that didn't go well together. It wasn't intentional. It was a mistake. But it was still very sad. 9. Josh Ryan Evans. Didn't look like other kids on TV. That was Josh Ryan Evans. He had a rare sickness that made him stay very small. He was only 3 feet tall his whole life, but he had a big heart. Even with many health problems and surgeries, he still followed his dream to be an actor. He played Timmy, a talking doll, on a weird but popular soap opera called Passions. People loved Timmy. Josh made the doll funny and kind. He made the character feel real, even though it was a doll. Before Passions, Josh was on other shows like Ally McBeal and Seventh Heaven. He even did the voice of the young Grinch in the movie How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Josh always gave his best. Off camera, he made people laugh and feel happy. He showed everyone that being different doesn't mean you can't follow your dreams. But on August 5, 2002, Josh died during surgery. He was only 20 years old. The next day on the TV show, his character Timmy died too. Fans were shocked. It felt like real life and TV were connected. Why didn't Hollywood see how special he was? 10. Sawyer Sweeten. A baby when he started on TV. That was Sawyer Sweeten. He played one of the twin boys on Everybody Loves Raymond. Millions of people watched him grow up for 9 seasons. His character was quiet but funny. His real-life twin and big sister were also on the show. It seemed like a happy life. But after the show ended, Sawyer left the spotlight. He moved to Texas and stayed away from Hollywood. His sister kept acting, but he didn't. To fans, he was still the little boy from TV. Then in April 2010, just before he turned 20, Sawyer passed away. No one saw it coming. Behind his smile, he was struggling with sadness and fear. His family later said that being famous young can be really hard. The pressure, the silence, and being forgotten can hurt a lot. 7. Michelle Thomas. Full of life. That was Michelle Thomas. People remember her as Steve Urkel's sweet girlfriend on Family Matters. Before that, she played Theo's girlfriend on The Cosby Show. She had a big smile, a warm heart, and made her characters feel real and full of love. In 1997, her life changed. Michelle found out she had a rare and fast-growing cancer. She didn't tell many people. She kept working, even when she was sick. She stayed strong until the end. On December 23, 1998, Michelle died. She was only 30 years old. Many fans had no idea she was even sick. When she died, not many people talked about it. But those who knew her said she was kind, strong, and full of faith. She left a big mark on Black TV. Even though some people forget her now, the ones who loved her still remember her glow. Her smile and spirit still make people feel warm inside. 12. Rob Knox. About to become a beach star, that was Rob Knox. He played Marcus Belby in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. He wasn't in the movie for long, but he did a great job. He was set to be in more movies. He had acted since he was a kid and had been on many British shows. People liked his kind face and honest eyes. But in May 2008, just after filming ended, Rob went out in London with his younger brother. A man nearby had knives and was threatening people. Rob tried to protect his brother. He was stabbed and died at just 18 years old. The man who took his life went to prison. But that didn't take away the pain. Rob's name faded as the movies went on. But the people who worked with him remembered how brave he was. His family started a group to fight knife crime and help young actors. Rob didn't die in a movie. He died being a hero. What dreams did he still have? We'll never know. 13. Sammy Kane Kraft. Wasn't just acting like a baseball star. Sammy Kane Kraft really was one. Since she was 5 years old, she could throw a baseball super fast. Her throws reached over 70 miles per hour. That's faster than most boys her age. People started to notice her skills. She played in real boys' teams and shocked everyone. That's how she got into the movie Bad News Bears in 2005. She didn't have to pretend to be good at baseball. She already was. On screen, she looked cool and strong. People liked how real she was. But Sammy didn't want to stay in movies. After that one film, she chose a different path. She went back to school and focused on music and writing. She made a band called Scary Girls. They played in small clubs around California. Her days were full of music, photos, and laughs. She didn't want to be famous. She just wanted to enjoy life and try new things. Her friends said she was brave and curious. Then something terrible happened. In October 2012, Sammy was in a car on the highway. Another car hit them hard from behind. The crash was fast and deadly. Sammy was only 20 years old. She died that night. Her life was short, but she lived it with fun and fearlessness. 14. Samantha Weinstein. A young actress from Canada was Samantha Weinstein. She started acting when she was just a kid. Before she was even a teen, she was winning awards. In one short film called Big Girl, she played a girl facing grown-up problems. People all over the world saw her talent. She had a quiet power that made every word feel real. As she got older, she kept acting in movies and shows. She was even in the 2013 remake of Carrie. Her part was small but unforgettable. But acting was just one part of her. Samantha also had a rock band called Virgins. She played guitar and sang with wild energy. Her music was loud and full of heart. On small stages, she gave big shows. She made people dance and smile. Even when she got sick, she kept making music. Samantha had a rare kind of cancer. She found out in her 20s. Even when she was sick and in the hospital, she wrote songs and did voice acting. She never gave up. In May 2023, she died at 28. Not many people heard about it, but those who loved her were heartbroken. She hid her pain but kept spreading joy. Could she have been saved if more people knew? 15. Hudson Meek. Didn't act in many movies, but he made every role matter. Hudson Meek did. In the movie Baby Driver, he played the younger version of the main character. He wasn't on screen for long, but he showed a lot of feeling. In just a few scenes, he helped people understand why the main character was so hurt as an adult. His acting felt real, like it came from the heart. Hudson was from Alabama. He started acting in plays at home. He was homeschooled and loved reading books and acting out stories. He wasn't trying to be famous. He just loved stories and acting. In another movie called I Can Only Imagine, he showed deep emotion again. More people started to notice him and saw how good he really was. In 2023, something sad happened. During a family trip, Hudson fell from a vehicle. The full story was never shared. Not many news stories talked about it. He was only 16. One moment he was smiling and making plans. Then he was gone. People who saw his talent were heartbroken. He had a big future ahead. His story ended too soon. 16. Lee Thompson Young. A big smile that people remembered belonged to Lee Thompson Young. He became famous in the late 1990s as the star of The Famous Jet Jackson. In the show, he played a kid who was a spy on TV and a normal student in real life. Many kids loved him, especially young black kids who saw someone like them on screen. He looked strong and happy, and he made acting look easy. After that show, Lee kept acting. He went to college to study film and later played a detective on a crime show. He looked like he had it all, but inside he was struggling. Lee had bipolar disorder. That's a serious illness that causes big mood changes from deep sadness to very high energy. He didn't talk about it much. Most people didn't know how bad it was. In 2013, Lee took his own life. He was only 29. People were shocked. He hadn't shown signs that something was wrong. His death was quiet and sad. After he passed, a group was started in his name to help others with mental illness. 17. Brad Renfro. Only 11 when he became famous in the movie The Client. That was Brad Renfro. He wasn't trained as an actor. A talent scout found him at his school in Tennessee. Suddenly, he was acting with big stars. People said he had natural talent, and they were right. He kept making movies in the 1990s and was known as one of the best young actors, but his real life was much harder. Brad didn't have strong support as he grew up. He started getting into trouble. He used substances and was arrested more than once. He kept trying to act, and sometimes he was amazing. But the bad choices kept pulling him down. He tried to stop using substances, but it didn't last long. In January 2008, Brad died from an opioid overdose. He was only 25. What made it worse was how quickly people forget about him. At the Oscars that year, they didn't even include him in the tribute. It was like he never existed. How could someone so talented be forgotten so fast? 18. Dana Plato. In the late 1970s, Dana Plato became famous. She played Kimberly on Different Strokes, the kind and caring big sister. Viewers loved her sweet voice and friendly face. On screen, she looked happy. But off-screen, her life was falling apart. While still on the show, Dana became pregnant. After that, she lost her job. It was hard to find other acting work. She tried to earn money in other ways, like posing for magazines or doing small movies, but nothing really helped. She got into trouble with the law. One time, she even robbed a video store. People joked about it, not knowing how bad things had gotten. In May 1999, Dana died in her trailer from a substance overdose. She was 34. Some people think it was an accident. Others think it was on purpose. A few years later, her only son died the same way. 19. Evan Ellingson. A young actor who showed deep emotion in his roles was Evan Ellingson. In My Sister's Keeper, he played a brother trying to be strong for his sick sister. His acting was powerful even though he was still a kid. He started acting at 10 years old. He got roles in shows like Bones and 24, where he worked with big stars. Later, he was in CSI, Miami as a Troubled Teen. People said he had real talent, but fame didn't last. It gave him light for a while, then it faded. Evan had a secret battle with addiction. After 2010, he stopped acting. People thought he just moved on, but inside, he was trying to fix his life. In November 2023, Evan died from an accidental overdose. He was only 35. The news didn't talk much about him. His death was quiet, just like the end of his career. How can someone with so much promise just disappear from our memories? 20. Chance Perdomo. A special kind of talent. That's what Chance Perdomo had. When he acted, people watched. He didn't just pretend to be someone else. He became that person. Many fans knew him as Ambrose from Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. He was smart, loyal, and always stood out. Later, he joined Gen V, a superhero show, and showed even more of his heart and strength. What people didn't see was how hard Chance worked. He was born in Los Angeles but grew up in England. He studied acting seriously, even as a teenager. He worked in small films and trained hard to be great. Acting wasn't just a job to him, it was his dream. He brought deep feelings to every role. He had a strong charm and something a little mysterious. People believed in the characters he played. He wasn't just another young actor, he was someone special. But in March 2024, Chance died in a motorcycle accident. He was only 27. His fans and friends were shocked. Shows stopped filming. People shared their sadness. Chance had worked so long to get there, and just like that, he was gone. 21. Dana Hill. Didn't look like the other young stars. That was Dana Hill. She had diabetes from a young age, which kept her body small, but her spirit was huge. She could take a sad character and make you feel every part of their pain. In the 1980s, she was in many serious shows and movies. She got famous for playing Audrey in the funny movie National Lampoon's European Vacation. But her real strength was voice acting. She gave her voice to cartoon shows like DuckTales and Goof Troop. Kids everywhere heard her, even if they didn't know her name. Dana didn't ask for attention. She worked hard and stayed strong, even when her health got worse. People who worked with her said she was always focused and kind. In 1996, Dana had a stroke caused by her illness. she went into a coma and died at just 32. By then, she had already stopped acting. Her death didn't make big news, but it should have. 22. Tara Correa McMullen. A serious look in her eyes, that's what Tara Correa McMullen had. She played a girl caught in gangs on the show, Judging Amy. At first, it seemed like just acting, but her real life turned dark too. Tara didn't plan to be an actress. Her chance came suddenly, and she did great. Her acting felt real, like she understood the fear. People noticed her. But at 16, she was shot and lost her life in a gang-related attack. It wasn't just a role anymore. It was real. She had moved out on her own, looking for freedom, but she was near people in gangs. Maybe she wanted to feel accepted. Maybe she was lost. Her death wasn't random. It could have been stopped. She was just a girl trying to find her place. 23. Logan Williams. Young Barry Allen in The Flash was played by Logan Williams. When people watched him, they felt something deep. He showed real feelings like pain and hope without saying much. He looked like any normal kid, but his acting was full of emotion. Many believed he had a bright future. But sadly, his life ended too soon. Logan died at just 16 years old from a fentanyl overdose. It was quiet, sudden, and no one saw it coming. Most people didn't know the hard things Logan was going through. He had problems with addiction and mental health. Even though he was famous for a little while, he felt pain that acting couldn't fix. He stopped acting and stayed out of the spotlight. His family hoped he would come back one day, but that day never came. When he passed away, the world barely noticed. Just a few news stories and then silence. Even though Logan didn't have many roles, the ones he did mattered. He made people feel real emotion, but because he wasn't super famous, most people forgot. His death didn't make big headlines. Another young life lost, and the world moved on too fast. Justin Pierce. Different from most actors, that was Justin Pierce. He didn't act like a Hollywood star. That made him special. His role in the movie Kids felt real, because it was. He was just a regular skater from New York when they found him. He didn't pretend. He showed who he really was, and that made people feel something strong. After Kids, he acted in a few more movies, like Next Friday. But Hollywood didn't know what to do with someone like him. He was too real and too wild. He missed the life he had before. Skating, friends, freedom. Fame didn't make him happy. It made him feel trapped. Soon the movie job stopped, and so did the phone calls. Everything got harder for him. In the year 2000, Justin ended his life in a hotel room in Las Vegas. He was just 25. The same strong feelings that made his acting great were also what hurt him most. Even though he wasn't a big star, people who saw him in those films never forgot him. In the skating world, people still talk about him. He had something special, even if the world didn't fully see it. 25. Gary Coleman. One of the most famous child stars on TV was Gary Coleman. Everyone knew his face and his funny line from the show. He was small because of a kidney disease, and that made him seem young even when he was older. That made him perfect for TV, but in real life, it was hard. He made lots of money, but things didn't stay good. His parents took money that was supposed to be for him. He had to go to court to fight for what he earned. As he got older, he didn't get many acting jobs. People couldn't forget the child he used to be. His health kept getting worse, and he needed machines to live. He tried new things, like running for office, but people just laughed at him. 26. Lena Zavaroni. A singing voice that amazed everyone belonged to Lena Zavaroni. At just 10 years old, she sang better than most adults. She won talent shows, sang for Queens, and performed on big stages. Her song sounded happy, but Lena was not. Fame came too fast. She lost her childhood and started feeling very sad. By 13, she had a sickness called anorexia. It made her stop eating because she wanted to stay thin. The pressure to look perfect made things worse. Lena stopped eating and smiling. Doctors tried to help, but her body was already weak. She spent many years in hospitals feeling lonely and sick. She was so sad that she even tried brain surgery to feel better, but her body couldn't take it. In 1999, Lena died at only 35 years old. Her sickness had taken everything. 27. Raphael Coleman. Made people laugh as Eric in Nanny McPhee. That was Raphael Coleman. He had red hair and a fun energy that made fans smile. But acting wasn't what he wanted forever. As he grew up, he chose something else. He loved animals and science. Later, he joined a group to help protect the Earth. He didn't care about fame anymore. He wanted to help the planet. He called himself Iggy Fox and became a strong voice for the Earth. He wrote, marched, and spoke out in climate protests. Many people working with him didn't even know he was once a child star. That part of his life didn't matter to him. He just wanted to make the world better. In 2020, something sad happened. Raphael went for a run and never came back. He died from heart failure. He was only 25. His family and friends were heartbroken, but the world hardly noticed. How could someone who gave so much be forgotten so quickly? 28. Jackson Odell. A young actor you might have seen on TV was Jackson Odell. He was in shows like Modern Family and The Goldbergs. He also acted in a movie called Judy Moody and The Not Bummer Summer. He wasn't super famous, but people noticed his talent. He worked hard and was building a good career in Hollywood. But Jackson wasn't just an actor. He also wrote music. His songs were full of deep feelings. He even wrote songs for a movie called Forever My Girl in 2018. Many people believed he had a bright future. He seemed to have so much talent. Then, in June of that year, everything stopped. Jackson was found dead in a sober living home in Los Angeles. It was a substance overdose. He was only 20. The news didn't talk much about it. 29. Bobby Driscoll. Once a big Disney star, that was Bobby Driscoll. He was the voice of Peter Pan. Before that, he acted in Song of the South and Treasure Island. He was so good that he won a special Oscar when he was just 12 years old. People thought he would stay famous forever, but Hollywood is tough, especially for kids. As Bobby got older, things got hard. His voice changed, and he didn't look like the cute kid anymore. Disney stopped calling. He wasn't getting any more roles. The magic was gone. He got sad, started using substances, and got in trouble with the police. Fame disappeared, and so did he. In 1968, Bobby died alone in an empty building in New York City. He had no ID, and no one knew who he was. He was buried in a grave for people no one claims, on a lonely island. A year later, police used fingerprints to find out it was Bobby. 30. Carl Switzer. Alfalfa in The Little Rascals was played by Carl Switzer. He had a funny voice and a hair that stuck up. Everyone loved him in the 1930s. He was on TV, in magazines, and kids wanted to be like him. But like many child stars, his fame didn't last. When he got older, he wasn't famous anymore. He tried many jobs, like working in bars, training dogs, and guiding hunters. He got small movie parts, but they didn't mean much. Trouble followed him too. He was always trying to fix his life, but it didn't work. In 1959, Carl got into a fight about money and a dog. A gun was pulled, and Carl was shot and lost his life. He was only 31. The person who shot him said it was self-defense, and the case was closed.